Well, guys, it's Halloween again. Now, does anyone want to tell this story? I will because there's not much time left for recording for today. Gosh darn it! I first met in person with Claire L. in the summer of 2013. I had arranged with her husband of 11 years, Trevor, to see her for an interview. Claire had initially agreed since I was not a newsman but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments and, if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in New Donk City on unrelated business. But at the last moment, Claire changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Trevor as we camped outside the bedroom door. I was listening and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. Things Claire said made little sense but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, well, rather her nightmares. Trevor apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it all in stride. Recall that it wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Claire L. was the size up for a small New Donk City based bulletin board system in 2002 when she first encountered Yoshi.jpg and her life changed forever. She and Trevor had been married for only 5 months. Claire was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS. Though she is the only one who has spoken openly about the experience, the rest have remained anonymous or are perhaps dead. In 2011, when I was only in 10th grade, Yoshi.jpg was the first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Claire was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as Smile That Yoshi, that being Yoshi.jpg is reputed to display. What got my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists other than as a rumor or hoax. It is unique because, though the entire phenomena centers on a picture file, that file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the image board 4chan, but particularly the X-focused paranormal subboard. It is suspected these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true Yoshi.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction is the viewer, and viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like Yoshi.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it is potentially absurd, though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge Yoshi.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is of disbelief. Neither Yoshi.jpg nor Smile.Yoshi is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features article on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites as I am Daisy.jpg, or Two-Goombas-One-Pipe. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to Yoshi.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's mini admins. Encounters with Yoshi.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Claire L's story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of Yoshi.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2004 a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile.yoshi pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 2000s that Yoshi.jpg circulated on Yahoo as an attachment of a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, Rosalina loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen Yoshi.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: an edited photo of the father of serial killer Mario, Yoshi, who is illuminated by the flash of the camera, sits in a chair. Another person in the photo is Mario's brother, Luigi, near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as just standing there. Of course, most attention is given to Yoshi. The mouth of him is reputedly split into a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very rotten, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. That this is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eyes during the time they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some it is more effective than others. Claire L., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why, after my visit to her apartment in 2013, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of Yoshi.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at a link, I completely forgot about my pursuits. Since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy, Claire contacted me via email, ever near the beginning of March 2014. To Toastner85 at .com from Claire L at .net. Subject line: last summer's interview. Dear Mr. E, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 11 years I have been haunted by Smile.Yoshi. Smile.Yoshi comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. There is an effable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that make them completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I do not move and do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the hand, and I see smile that Yoshi. It talks to me. It is not Yoshi himself, of course, though. I am not quite sure what it really is. It tells me that it will leave me alone if I only do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That is how it phrases its demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the email a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was only a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Trevor. As much as the idea disgusted me, and what would happen then? Well, the smile that Yoshi kept its word, I could sleep. Yet if it lied, what would I do? Knew was to say something worse would not come for me if I did as the creature asked. So I did nothing for 11 years. Though I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things, every night for 11 years, the smile that Yoshi has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the bread, or word. For 11 years I have stood strong. Though there have been hard times, many of my fellow victims on the BBS board where I first encountered Yoshi.jpg stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. E. The last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy disk. I did not care if Smile that Yoshi was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with. That I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was planning to ruin your life. I cannot stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. E. I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Yoshi.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, and wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile.Yoshi's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Claire L. Trevor contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself while cleaning up the various things she left behind, closing email accounts and the like. He happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the diskette. He revealed and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several New Donk City newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Claire L. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least, I would not further pursue the subject of Yoshi.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Claire L., I received another email to toaster85.com from below95 at .com. Subject line: Yoshi.
Hello, I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smile Yoshi. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spreading the word.
The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attached called, naturally, Yoshi.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagine, and even if it weren't, I was never wholly convicted of Yoshi.jpg's peculiar powers. Claire L's account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what Yoshi.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Claire turned out to be correct, if Smile that Yoshi came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, given until I died, or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I choose the latter route, who could I do it? How could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through with my early intention to write a short article about Yoshi.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence. Anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And assuming the Yoshi.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that matter? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could.